Good morning and welcome, smart listeners. I'm Chris Prefontaine, and my focus weekly is to bring you an expert who can help you make a quantum leap in your business, your finances, and or your life. Today, I'm excited to bring you the next master's class. Now, I got to say, if you haven't noticed by now, and I'm sure you have, I bring on guests that I'm always super excited to chat with and who I feel can just bring you loads and loads of cool information, cool content, and cool takeaways, because I think that that's frankly what it's all about. And I was thinking recently about the QLS live event that we do every year, and it's just grown from literally a basement and 16 or 18 people to a sellout every year. This year will be well over 100, probably 150. So side note, if you haven't grabbed your ticket, you might want to do that. But the QLS, if you haven't noticed it yet, if you haven't dove into the website yet, is a lot about kind of the why, the strategy, a lot about mindset, because I think what gets in the way with all of us, I know with us and our family, is what's between the ears. You get to meet the family, you get to meet associates, the relationships and the lessons that are gleaned there are just amazing. It's a packed 2 days. The speakers are off the charts, but here's what happened. We were racking our brain as we were planning for that event, and then we got just massive feedback, which we love, from the students and the associates about kind of needing more, kind of needing the next level. And what did that mean? That meant things like diving into skill sets, like diving into scaling, diving into, okay, I did 4 or 5 or 6 deals. That's cool. But now how do I get that to the next level? Because I promise you what got you there is different than going to the next level. And so we launched with your feedback and with that kind of mindset, we launched our annual business scaling secret events that will happen every single year, just like the QLS. Those are the only 2. They're quite exclusive. The first one's coming up on April 4th of 19. And I've invited back some really cool speakers. Now, keep in mind, it's a 1-day power-packed event. So these speakers are very, very selective. We want content. We want skill set. We want you to walk out of there with some cool takeaways. And I want to bring on our guest today because he is one of the special speakers, Mr. Stephen Woessner. Steve is a few things here. I'm gonna give you a little bit behind the scenes. Steve is not only the founder and CEO of Predictive ROI, he also runs, produces, handholds us on our podcast. He's also a great friend, great weekly accountability partner now. We'll talk about that probably at Business Scaling. And so, Steve, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Well, thanks very much for the invitation. It's always a joy and pleasure to spend time with you and certainly your audience.
Yeah, and I want to, Steve, get into a little bit, and we can just volley here a little bit, but I want to talk about the business scaling being, on your standpoint, when you're going to talk more about kind of growing from a position of authority. There's a lot of things in there, I know, and then kind of making it more tactical, more predictable, if you will.
Yeah, I think that the authority piece is something you and I talk about often. Certainly in our weekly accountability calls. I know that was a big topic at QLS, and in about the, not only just the, why does that matter to somebody in business today, whether that person's a real estate investor, as many in your community are, or somebody's a business owner looking to build and then scale that business. So why does that matter? Why do I need to become the expert in my local market? But then also, well, okay, that's great. Like if conceptually I'm tracking with that, how do I do that? Like what are some of the being known as the expert? That might sound great, but it also might feel really daunting too. And how do I achieve it? Because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a long-term thing. You know, building and scaling your business, as you and I often talk, it's not a, geez, I think I am going to jump in this and I can't wait to do 40 deals in my first year. Yep. That's really setting somebody up for failure, right? That type of mindset.
Right.
And so there's a scaling process, not only to the business, but also to somebody's expertise.
So do this. I mean, obviously we have limited time, but so let's start with, well, why the heck should they become the expert, to your first point?
Okay. So I think you've seen that. Well, I know you've seen this in your business, and many of your associates have seen this too. But, you know, a friend of mine, his name is Joe Calloway, and he wrote a great book called, Category of One, essentially become a category of one, because you become so distinctive. Your reputation really truly does precede you. And then that begins to drive your business, whether that is reviews, whether that is, content on your website, whether that is you're a speaker within your local market. That reputation alone, and planting that flag and driving it deep in the dirt, that then begins to drive your business like nothing else could. So why that matters is because it truly is a business driver. Beyond anything else that you could do in your business, aside from taking great care of your clients and customers and so forth, that obviously is foundational. That's important. Nobody's going to do business with a shady business. But being able to be known as the expert in your local market, it's top of mind. It is a much better reputation than any sort of paid ads, any sort of paid media, anything that you could do to drive your business forward. Being the authority is it.
Well, let's think about that for just 1 second, and it may be a little diversion, but let's ask the audience to think about something. Where do you go when you want to, get something done to your body for medical, or where do you go when you want to get something done to your car or your teeth? You find the expert, clearly, and it's not hard to figure that out. And so once you become that, how important is it for them to get like super clear on, well, their point of view and getting to that point? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on that. So to piggyback on what you just mentioned there, there's a real difference, and this example is used quite a bit, so maybe your audience is very familiar with it, or maybe it's new, right? So there's a big difference between when you're not feeling well and you go see a general practitioner, like your family doc, versus, holy bananas, I have something really serious going on with my heart and I need to see a cardiac specialist. There's a big difference there. You seek out the specialist because he or she has deep, deep expertise. That is all they do. That's it. If you have some, issue going on with your lungs, a pulmonary problem or pancreatic problem, you don't go see the cardiologist. You go see an expert in that particular or that specialist. So that's what we're talking about here. Even if somebody's building a radiology business, a real estate business, that same strategy applies, right? So point of view is not an extension of that or something different. It's like a bolt-on to that. So deciding that you're going to become the expert in the local market, that's a decision to make. And then building everything around that is fine. And we can get a little bit tactical on that in just a minute. But your point of view is really, this is what I do. This is who I do it for. This is who I don't do it for. And this is really the why I do it, like my belief system around it. You can maybe think of it as sort of mission, vision, values if you want to, but really the purpose. So I'm here in Atlanta right now. I know you're on site in Arizona working with a great group at Elite. And so we're both traveling right now, but I'm on site in Atlanta right now, working a couple days with one of our clients here. And we went through point of view yesterday during this kind of workshop, if you will, that we were hosting on site with them and their team. And I could see that there was something really deep inside there. Like there was a deep, deep belief. And she kept saying something on the surface. And I'm like, no, it's deeper than that. Like, why does this really matter? And the conversation really started heating up. I'm like, why does this make you upset? Like, why do you feel so committed about serving this audience? And then finally it came out.
That's awesome.
And why she felt so connected. And it happened 20 years ago. And ever since that one moment, she has thought, you know what? That piece in the industry needs to change. I'm tired of it. And she completely has led her business exceptionally well based on that belief that happened 20 years ago. Your audience, your real estate investors, your customers, your associates have had similar experiences that have changed their belief system. Like, no, dang it, I'm not going to do that. And then pounded a stake in their dirt, whether they believed or whether they realized it or not. And now that's their point of view. And they need to express that, just like 2008 and 2009 for you shaped your point of view.
Right. Yeah. Major. So I just wanted them to hear that so they can get a glimpse of what it means to rub elbows with you for a day, and probably a little bit more for those that are hanging out for our High Six Mastermind the next day. Okay. So I know we don't have time to do all this, but let's say that they're thinking this through and go, that's a cool idea. But how and when and what do I do to get started? I know it's not a full lesson today, but like they must be not confused, but what do I do next type thing?
Okay, so I think maybe sort of how they can kind of workshop this, if you will, on the fly. It's making a list of beliefs, like what are some of the truths that come out in conversations with their clients, their customers today, that they hear themselves kind of recommending over and over and over and over again. For you, and spending so much time with you as you and I do, it's why would you expose yourself to that risk? Like, and then tying that back to the debacle of '08, that pain is still inside, and now that helps you guide your business in a more safe, mitigated risk manner, and you help others do that too, because you learn the lesson and you know what happens personally. You know what happens when you do it in a different way, and you don't want to see anybody exposed to that type of risk that you and your family felt back then, and now you know how to do it better.
Yeah,
right?
spot on. Yeah.
Okay, so each of us have had experience like that could be quietly guiding us, or it could be loudly guiding our path today. And understanding what those experiences are and getting clear about that, and it's like, oh, I do make decisions because of what happened 10 years ago, and now I need to voice that, and that is the point of view. That is it. And then getting really, really clear, starting to articulate it, first understand what it is, and then being able to, and then build an audience and expertise around it.
Love it. Love it. So this is a game changer, Steve. I think you'll agree, because I know you're traveling for a client now, but you also travel and do biz development and things like that. And that's what we're doing here. And I said yesterday to the group, and I want our associates and our students to feel this way at the Business Scaling. I said, there is no way in the last 13 months we would have done what we did without the group. And it's the same way with our community. You experience that community a little bit, and how cool that is, and how tight knit they are, and how they help each other. So that's a lot of what they're going to get in an action-packed day with you and only one other speaker.
Well, you and I spend so much time talking about inner circle and why it matters. And that, whether you want to say like what Jim Rohn said, you're the average of 5 people you spend the most time with, or you want to think about what John Wooden, the great John Wooden, Coach John Wooden, what he said, you'll never outperform your inner circle. The lessons are there.
Those are
right?
scary thoughts if you think about it for some.
Well, yeah,
everyone.
Exactly. So it's really, really important to make sure that you're spending time with the right people. The people you bring together in your community, the people you bring together in that room, are the right people if you truly want to build and scale.
And Steve, let's touch upon just one thing, side note, because I know we talk about this nonstop. The fact of, how do I summarize this best? And then we'll wrap up. The fact that to grow and scale what we're talking about at the Business Scaling is not easy. Like, we're not saying this is going to be easy. Come here and you get the soup to nuts formula. It's not easy. I don't know, after interviewing 1,000, I think it is, business owners and entrepreneurs on your podcast, any thoughts on that, just so they get a little glimpse of that? Because we're going to talk about it at the Business Scaling, just the pains, the hurdles, the challenges, and how we're going to break through that.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the people in the room, and then just this business owner, investor community as a whole, to realize that truly it doesn't happen overnight, that it does take time, and one needs to be patient, but it isn't because that business is necessarily hard or finding the secrets is difficult. People can spend time with you and unlock all of that knowledge that can certainly accelerate their learning curve, or compress their learning curve, or however you want to express that.
Yeah.
But there is still time that it takes to practice and get good at it and develop mastery around it. Someone doesn't become a world-class cardiologist overnight. How does that happen? Practice, application, making mistakes, unfortunately, practicing again, making mistakes, practicing again. And it takes years and years and years of practicing the right things with diligence and persistence that truly makes somebody great at this. So will coming to the April event, shorten their learning curve and accelerate them way ahead of people who are not there, obviously. But it's not like you're going to fix somebody from, at that event. And now all of a sudden they have a skilled business when they walk out of the event the next day. It is application of all of the expert knowledge that you're giving them that truly helps them scale their business.
Yeah, and for the listener, I just thought of this somewhat off topic, but not really, because we're talking about scaling. I want to address the new person watching this saying, well, then that might not be for me. There's a big difference between going out and doing 4 or 5 deals. I don't want to say anyone can do it, but many can learn how to do that. Then that's kind of a job if you keep doing that for 3 years. So the launching properly to scale is if you're new. And then you mentioned just the tweaks and the adjustments, and I'll wrap up with this thought. We teach in the QLS video program, and we do it live at BSS, the Business Scaling. And that's a concept I coined ACA, A-C-A-A. And I don't know if you saw it, but it's just what you said. And man, I've been teaching this for years, but it's the first A is take action. And then the C in the ACA formula is we critique it with you. We critique what just happened. And then the next A is adjust based on the critique, and then take action again. So it's action, critique, adjust, action. But if you do that on every little skill set you use, and use a mentor or a group or a community to do that, I think over time it's impossible to fall off track. But it's not action, critique, quit. There's a big difference.
Well, isn't it interesting though that like we look at a world-class athlete, like pick an athlete, and they've all gone through that. They've all been dedicated to their craft for 10, 15, 20 years, maybe since they were kids. And now they're on this stage of like, oh, Steph Curry, I wonder what it was like to, play junior, high basketball or something against Steph Curry. He must have really stood out. You know what? When he was a junior high basketball player, he was an average player. Yeah,
there's a lot of those.
Right? And Michael Jordan, everybody knows the story probably that he got cut from his high school basketball team, couldn't even make it.
Yep.
And arguably one of the greatest players of all time. Why? Because of ACA.
Yep.
Because he had great coaches. Michael Jordan was on the Chicago Bulls, and they never won a championship until Phil Jackson got there. ACA.
Amazing.
Right? You needed coaching. Guess what? Kobe Bryant was a part of the LA Lakers, and they never won a championship until Phil Jackson got there, and they won 6. So it's really, really important. 3. They won 6 at the Bulls, or he won 6 with the Bulls, so he has 9 total. And I think that this is correct, that he's the only coach in NBA history to ever do triple repeats 3 times. So it's about coaching, and that's what I think you do exceptionally well with your community. It's about, this is what the blueprint is. This is the triangle offense, folks, quoting Phil Jackson, but this is how we run it. And we're going to do it every single day in practice and in games, and we're going to do it with excellence, and we're going to do it for 10 years. And they were dominant.
That's awesome. Simply awesome. Steve, clearly we could brainstorm this for another hour and a half. We both are running to meetings. It's the crack of dawn here, and it looks like in your window it is there. So I really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate our relationship and everything that we're doing and will be doing. And I know these guys are going to leave that event saying, man, I'm so glad I did. I don't want you as the listener to pass the event, pass the time, and look back at the success that's going to come out of that event and say, I wished I had, because that'll be an awful experience. I want you to say, I'm super glad I did. So with that, go ahead and visit the show notes and get yourself registered for the event. It will sell out. It sells out every year, and QLS sells out every year. It's not fluff. It does. The rooms are only so big. And I super look forward to spending some time with you, Steve, as usual. It's a good excuse to get together and do some great things as a community. Thanks again for being on, buddy.
Well, thanks again for the invitation. Really excited to see you too, and everybody in your community that attends. And it's just going to be awesome. Thanks again for the invite.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. See you soon.
Okay.